we're in an interesting place where we're more connected, like digitally, but also more disconnected, right? And we're more polarized. And I'm just thinking there has got to be a better way. Look, we might disagree in this place, and that place, but over here, we are alike. So let's put our energy where we are alike and make something happen.
Welcome to the Make Water Work podcast, where we dive into the people, ideas, and innovations shaping the future of water. I'm your host, Isaac Pellerin, and alongside my co-host, Megan Glover, the founder of 120 Water, we bring you insights from hundreds of incredible conversations we've had over the past 9 years with inspiring and energizing leaders in the water industry. Each week, we share those stories and conversations with entrepreneurs, community champions, and innovators who are making water work for everyone. Whether you're a water professional, a curious innovator, or simply passionate about our most precious resource, this podcast is for you. Let's get started. Well, welcome to the Make Water Work podcast, where we celebrate innovators and those who are really serving the ecosystem and helping to make water work. And so, Megan, we have a really great guest and a fun guest that I had the pleasure of seeing at Jammin' for Water at WEFTEC just pull off an incredible Tina Turner. But tell us who we have.
I mean, we could do the entire podcast just on that.
We could.
I mean, so, but maybe we will, Nicole. But today, next time. But today, I'm glad you kicked it off with ecosystem builder, because we have probably the best ecosystem builder I've had the pleasure of spending time with and meeting in the industry, Nicole Brown. So, Nicole, thank you so much for joining the Make Water Work podcast. She just a little bit about her background and all that she's involved in. I actually had to write it down to make sure that I didn't miss all of the associations that you're a part of right now, Nicole. But your day job is growth lead for water at GFT. You're also the co-founder of Black Water Professionals Alliance and extremely involved philanthropically, as well as on associations as vice chair of the AWWA New Jersey, chairperson for partnership for the Delaware Estuary, Environmental Justice Advisory Council member for the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection, and then board member on your Fairmount Waterworks board. So, and I'm sure there's other stuff that wasn't even public that you're involved in, just knowing who you are, Nicole.
Yeah, I don't sleep much.
So it's a pleasure to have you on the podcast.
Thank you.
Yeah. We like to kick off the podcast with the same question from our guests, because I've never met a person in water that doesn't have a wonderful story about how it found them. So, Nicole, would you mind sharing how water found you?
Sure. I do love hearing people's water stories, and stories in general just make us more empathetic. So thank you for starting off that conversation with that. I really saw, coming up in school, was good at math and science. And I had a really cool math teacher. When I told him I didn't want to be a math teacher, said, you should be an engineer. And so I was like, oh, what does that do? And he said, that means you solve problems. And if I like to do anything, it is solving problems. And then I kind of came into water because this was kind of, the late 80s, early 90s, and environment was a thing, right? They were trying to, like, everybody was kind of talking about what we do for the environment. And I probably have a little bit of a superhero complex, and I want to save the world.
Mm-hmm.
And so how else to save the world except for to literally save the planet, right? And so it just sounded very, very cool and exciting to get into the environmental space as an environmental engineer. And when I started going through my coursework, water just spoke to me, right? It was another piece of that was in high school. I was grateful to go to a Quaker boarding school, and every freshman takes a hydrology class, and it's literally a year about the study of water. Who knew, right? And I think that even talking to people, they're like, what is water? It's easy. But the science behind water is so fundamental to all life, right? And just taking that one course a whole year about water just opened my mind to what was possible and how I could affect change on a larger level, right? And help people where they were.
Mm-hmm. How lucky. A whole year about water. What an experience.
Mm.
Why isn't that part of our curriculum everywhere?
It's so important too, because
Precisely.
we talk a lot about how much water is so important to our communities, not just obviously because we need to drink it or those kind of things, but how it drives our economy, how it anchors people to their place. What an incredible experience to get to dive deep into all the ways that it has impact at that stage.
The science behind water is something that we as people like commonly don't know.
Yeah.
Right. And when you think about how it fundamentally changes not just like, oh, we need it to live, but how it changes all science. We have a different appreciation of it, right? And how we have to protect it in order to sustain our world. So I do think that, it's like, okay, that's pretty cool. But no, when you really get into it, you realize how crucial it is to all life.
Yeah. Say more about that. Like all science, like, hey, what are the other layers other than taking water in isolation? Say more about that.
Yeah, and I will admit that I didn't see the social aspects of water, like how being near it, benefits mental health, and how cities are built around it for commerce. I didn't get a lot of that until like deep into my adulthood, right? Because I was like, science, that's all I know, right? It wasn't the whole social construct. So I really dove into, what does it mean to be the building block of life, and how our pollution, right? Again, kid of the 80s. And like we talked a lot about pollution and things of that sort. And like, how does that impact? So when you talk to, just an everyday person about what does littering mean to water, right? They're like, it's not connected. But then I explained that, well, every time if you litter and it goes into our waterways and then we have to remove it, then it takes more energy, more resources to remove it from the system, right? So the water cycle. So if we're constantly breaking down that water cycle and making it harder to get back into water, back into drinking, or usable state, you are impacting water, right? And I think that by talking about it in these bigger ways to the average person, they see how they're impacting things in their everyday lives, right? Not just what you flush down the toilet, what you consume, all of these things. If we're not thinking about it on a consistent basis, we lose a lot, and we stop being stewards of the water because we feel like it doesn't matter what our everyday impact doesn't matter, and we have to have a different conversation around that.
Yeah. Or even if it's a universal solvent and it's carrying things that are broken down, then what other particles are being carried? What is water carrying? Yeah.
And it's interesting, Nicole. It's incredible to me how many this is a reoccurring theme on the podcast, and it doesn't matter whether you're approaching water as an engineer or a communications person or an operator like this. We need to be talking more consistently about water and how circular water is to our life, to our economy, for all of these things that you mentioned. I just feel like you are just such a poster child for being able to do that. And how do we take you and like make you the brand of water? You know what I mean? Like that's what we need. That's what we need.
I consider myself a water evangelist, right? And I come from a church background. So if you preach the word of water, right, you tell people how they are impacting it, then they spread it. Because we cannot duplicate any of me, right, or any of it. And so you just have to like make the message stick. And then when somebody, especially kids, I love talking to kids about water because they're like, "Did you know?" Right, and then then they go, right, and then they tell their parents and their friends and all of that. But the same applies to the negative message, right? If the negative message of lead or PFAS or any of those things that we do talk about that sound scary, they also tell those stories. So we have to, like we talk about communications, it is a key to our message because we all have a part in it, and if we don't manage the message of water and its impact, it'll get away from us. And so I think we all have a responsibility to talk about the work that we do as water professionals.
Yeah, I love it, and thank you for calling out that we need to be able to talk about the scary stuff too, in a way that's, not so scary, because it's the reality of our industry, right? It's
Yes.
what Melissa Meeker say, our industry is dealing with the issue du jour.
Issue du jour. Yeah.
Issue du jour, and that's so true. There's always going to be something after lead, something after PFAS, and so it's just such an underutilized discipline in water to be able to talk about the hard things in a constructive way. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's part of our job, right? I mean, we have to, if I say I have the knowledge, I feel it's my responsibility to share it, because the everyday person does not have that knowledge. So let me try to break it down in a way that they at least are interested, because they are paying for it, right? They're consuming it. So they should understand it. And I have been guilty of being in my church, and something came up in water, like an alert or a boil water alert. And literally during service, the pastor stopped and looked at me and said, "Nicole, explain this, come up to the pulpit and explain this." And I'm like, but it was making people scared.
Yeah.
Right. So
right.
They know you do water. I grew up in that church, so they know me, and I can't get away from it. But they were just like, all right, come up on the pulpit, explain what you know, and then we'll talk about it later. And I take that seriously, right? That I'm helping to convey a message to people that trust me, that want to know. And I always say, look, I'm only getting the facts that I have, that you have too. I'm not representing, the city or any of this, but this is how I read what I just read. All right. And let's talk about that. Why does it make us scared? We all are drinking the water. What is the feeling, the emotion? Because that's really what it boils down to, and how you have that relationship with the water that you consume.
Gosh, I love that. Have you ever found in your career that people are resistant to that transparency? Let's talk through that. Have you encountered that at all in your career?
Yeah. I mean, I kind of subscribe to just truth, because I'm bad at lying. I've just never been good at it. And so I'll say, I don't know if I don't know, but if I know, this is what I do know. And let's talk about it. Let's learn together. Like those kinds of statements, because especially if it is someone I want to be honest with you. I want to give you the best information, even if I just met you. Like, I have no reason to give you misinformation. But that's just me. Look, everything can be spun. But I would rather say, I'm not sure, let's figure this out together, because that builds trust. And it also we're both vulnerable in this situation, right? Especially if I'm being put on the spot, I don't know everything, but I will help us get there together, because it's important that we do.
Well, and so much of that becomes the posture of engaging. And I think there's a difference when people are able to relate to their water resource and their utility as saying, hey, this is our resource as a community. You're the steward of it, but we can talk about it, versus, oh, well, I don't know what my city does with the water. Or I don't know, if they feel like it's their water versus our water. I think that's part of the importance of the way that you tell the story is hey, I'm going to tell you about our water. Mm-hmm. I'm the person who has more information, but it's ours.
Right. I'm drinking it too, right? My family's drinking it too. And all of those things make it more personable. And I think that, look, I'm the first person to say, as an engineer, a lot of times we say, oh, we have the answer. Don't worry about it. Don't think about it. We've got it. And that is so dismissive. And it's not fair, right? To say that I know better, right? Just trust me. Nah, that's that, let me use what I have learned to bring us along, instead of saying, oh, sit down, I'll be condescending, just drink it and hush. That's not the posture we should take.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you lose the opportunity to earn that engagement credit on some level of saying hey, now that you're engaged, you understand the resource that it takes investment of time, energy, and money. And so we want to keep investing in this resource.
Yeah. And I think that posture, Nicole, that you described as an engineer, I think is somewhat rare in our industry. And it's so refreshing to hear that, though, because I think, and I'd be curious to know your take on kind of the engineering, community and that. But it's a business, and it kind of can be a cutthroat business. So I feel like combining, that awareness, right? Self-awareness that, hey, I need to bridge the ecosystem and kind of go beyond what my traditional scope of services or what to deliver this outcome for you is so important to the success of this project at the end of the day, right? Nicole, have you found that that's been a superpower for you across your career, being able to kind of connect all of those ecosystems to solve these complex problems for your customers?
I do, in the sense that I think anybody can do it. It does take practice for some more than others, right? But I think that we have an obligation to communicate what we're doing. If we talk over people, if we do all that, they're going to say, "What are you talking about? I don't want any of it," right? And then it's going to stop anyway. So there's really a business case for being a better communicator when it comes to infrastructure projects. And I am a person that enjoys communicating, so that might be the rare part, but since the beginning of my career, like one of the first big projects I had, I was so excited as the engineer. It was new and exciting for New York City, and I got in front of a room full of people and just got creamed explaining it. It was in Queens, and look, I went up there like ready to save the world. I could do all these things. We solved it, and they were like, "Nope, we want none of it." And I was yelled at, like personally. I will never forget one of the women who was an advocate in the neighborhood and did her research on a lot of the things that they were going through. Said, "I have cancer, and you personally gave it to me because you provided the water and you gave me cancer." And I'm like 22 years old, like ready to bawl. And it was just,
Yeah.
it hit me that this is her life, right? I might think I have the answers, but I didn't know her story. And our solution was, let's go down and sit at Miss Hazel's table, go to her kitchen, listen to her issues, her concerns that were very valid, and talk her through the science slowly, right? Because as long as she wasn't ready to listen, she was going to just keep talking, saying things and rah-rahing the community against it. And ultimately, we wanted to provide safe drinking water to the community. So what do I have to do to go from design that seems perfect to actually getting it implemented? And it was a long and difficult process, but I learned so much. And the whole design team, the commissioner, everybody was like, "Okay, this is what we're doing. We're going to invest, because if we don't, it won't happen." And that's the key, to say it's worth it. And I think, I'm grateful, living in Philadelphia, that we have a similar feel. Like, you got to talk to the community, you got to bring them along, because it's necessary, and they're a better consumer at the end of it, right? They see the value, because rates go up. That is just life, right? And they see how those things they benefit directly, but you can't expect them to do that without communicating with them. And bringing them along in that journey, right? So I think that, I commend any utility that says, all right, let's invest in our people, not just our pipes, not just our pumps, not just our plants, right? We've got to invest in our people.
Yeah. And understand that we, as water people, serve a variety of diverse populations, and understanding how, putting ourselves and understanding how our message or how our product affects that too. I think that's a really good example of what we talk about, the need to make sure that we have all of that represented around the table, so that we're delivering the best product and communicating most effectively to all of the stakeholders that we serve. Nicole, your day job, engineer, you've got a lot of pastimes as well. But I wanted to dive into one that I think is really important and interesting, which is as co-founder of the Black Water Professionals Alliance. And I'm just curious, how did that come about? How did you come about to co-found the Alliance?
Yeah, so that was a long time coming. I've been in the industry 27 years about now. And I think from the very beginning, it was like, we need a community for Black water professionals. And when I say professionals, that's everywhere in water. That's from marketing, HR, legal, engineers, lab, like wherever you are in water, you are a water professional, right? That is what you get paid to do. And so in that space, we are trying to, we want to engage a new pool of people to be involved in water, right? Recognizing, we talk about the silver tsunami and workforce development issues. Well, we need new pools of talent. So if people don't even know that water is an industry, they won't know that there's a job there for them, right? So there is like, we're trying to engage, and we're also trying to empower those of us that are already in the water industry for, professional development, for opportunities, knowing people in different places. So you can say, so why, what's this job mean to you? Like, how can we create a community where we feel comfortable sharing information? And then finally, we do want to engage our communities, right? If I'm from West Philly, and if I can say I drink West Philly water, and I can talk to my neighbors, my church members, whatever, about the things that they're going through in their water, then I can be effective and message differently, right? And that is just like you were saying, it's the messenger as well as the message. And so we feel like there's a responsibility within the BWPA to do that work on all three of those levels, so that we can bring more positive change to the water industry, because we recognize it needs us to be sustainable. And we also know that we're not the only ones, right? We encourage all kinds of organizations like this, because wherever you are, you can make an impact. To retain, right? To engage, to empower those that have a similar story to you, and that's how we're going to do it. Like, there's no what do they say? Like, there's no God from heaven coming down to say, now we have new water professionals, right? It's like, that's not how it's going to happen, right? We have to do the work, to do the outreach, and explain that there are good paying jobs that are fulfilling and interesting and all of those things. That it's not happening without us taking those steps, right? So BWPA right now, we're really just building that community of those of us already in water, and then reaching out to our networks. Like, once we feel like, I kind of use the analogy of when you're on a plane and they tell you to put your mask on yourself before you help, your child or someone that needs help, because we have to empower ourselves, right? We have to get ourselves right before we can do that outreach and help others. So we're in that first phase of building that community. And every time I tell somebody about BWPA, they're like, that's what we need, right? Just nobody actually did the steps to do it. So it's like, we all got together and said, all right, stop talking about it. Let's just do it, see what happens. And so we also recognize we're not doing it alone, right? I mean, there are other organizations that are doing similar work that we want to work with. It doesn't make sense to fight it, right? The technical organizations, the philanthropic organizations, we all have to work together because we all have a similar goal. So that's really our focus right now, is just kind of finding similar people and dissimilar people, because I will have the conversation with anyone. If you say, well, I don't think it's necessary. Well, I know, as a person who has mentored, who has, guided, who has provided opportunities that might not have come to other people otherwise, but through our organization, that it is needed, because we have a different conversation. And my path as a Black female going through, engineer into water, there are others that are like, you look like me, you come from somewhere like me, I can do that as well. And those are those that I want to encourage, and other people to say, that's an impressive story, that's an empowering story. Like, we all should be inspired by how we got to water, just like you started this conversation, right? So let's be empathetic and recognize that we can be allies, we can be advocates, we can be sponsors, to make this all happen together.
Yeah. I love that. And I kind of draw the correlation between the fact that water is a resource that you need to steward, and then the role that you play in not just stewarding the resource of water, but also the community of water, and the way that you're using your story also to bring more folks into the water industry. And we need that desperately, not just to increase the pool of workforce, but also to think about the way that we value it and the way that we prioritize it for our local communities. It is critical.
Yeah. And when you are ready after that phase one, you let us know any way we can help, make sure that we're a part of that, as allies, as advocates, whatever you need, because I just think it's filling such a void. And I'm glad you're the one spearheading it, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So let's maybe take a look, because you are an ecosystem connector, and I would just be curious on your point of view, Nicole. Think about our industry right now. What are you most optimistic about as a water professional right now?
So I am grateful to just be an optimist in general. So no matter what's going on, I might for a minute, but I'm like, all right, well, let's go. And what is making me very optimistic right now is the concept of abundance. If you look in nature, there's abundance everywhere, and water is a great example, right? One drop is one drop, but when you bring many drops together, right, you create a wave. And so I'm just going back to those fundamentals, and there are some that believe in scarcity, and I get that, right? I don't ascribe to scarcity. I believe that when we connect, when we share, when we just say there's plenty of pie for everyone, there's plenty of food for everyone, it's we are better, right? And we're in an interesting place where we're more connected, like digitally, but also more disconnected, right? And we're more polarized. And I'm just thinking there has got to be a better way, right? And so I'm enjoying these conversations of connection to say, like, look, we might disagree in this place, and that place, but over here we are alike. So let's put our energy where we are alike and make something happen, because I'm not saying we're not the same. That's just not realistic, right? But we do have ways that we can align. And like I said, every year I come with a word that's like, this is my word for the year, and abundance is definitely my word of the year. And if we've all had a situation where we know if we had somebody that could have helped us on this resource, we could have gotten it done, right? Um, Last year, we had a bunch of stuff from my grandmother's house when she passed, and we were like, "Look at all this beautiful, china and things that were beautiful, but we didn't have a use for it, right? I, what am I supposed to do with this? I have something beautiful in my hand that I can't use. Is there someone that would want this in the world? I'm sure, right? This would be a valuable resource to someone. How do I get to that someone, right? And there's no other way to get to that someone except for that web of connectivity. Whether it's posting it or asking friends or whatever, you're not going to sit there with it in your hand and find somebody, right? So let it go, put it out there, and say, how can this bless someone else? And that's what I feel like we should be doing in many other places, because if you think about it, some of our systems are kind of like holding us back, right? The scarcity is the mentality in some of our systems right now, but we as individuals don't have to subscribe to that, right? We have to be within the system, and we're all part of it, but we can also kind of find other ways to invest in us. I did a lot of funding, federal funding work, and the manner of funding has changed, right? So what do we do in the meantime? We invest in our people, we invest in our relationships, we find other ways to make it happen, because we can't just say, oh, well, because these things still have to happen, right? We still have to keep our water flowing. We still have to keep our people fed. All of these things still have to happen. So how do we do it in a creative way, and still find that abundance wherever it is?
Is Nicole, I'm just curious, is your positive energy, is that your natural kind of resting place? I've been doing some therapy is not the right word, although it feels like therapy, but energy and leadership training. And I just, I think once you understand that energy is a state of mind, and you can kind of flex between positive and negative energy, and it's your choice where you want to live, and it is a choice, right? So I'm just curious, like, is your positive energy? I can already I can already tell what level you probably naturally rest at, but is it something you have to work at, or is that innate to who you are?
It is who I am, but you have to replenish it for sure, right? We all kind of get beat down a little bit every day, and I try to find the joy, I try to find the beauty. That's just kind of how I was raised, right? It's that no matter what, like, you got to find the joy, and I do think that there is resilience in that. I'm going through a program about flourishing, with the World Flourishing Organization, and like that concept that within all of the different pillars of your life, they're not all going to be going this, gangbusters at the same time, but you've got to analyze, like, where am I flourishing? Where am I positive, and focus on that and say, okay, I got that. Where else can I, like, step by step? And I'll be very honest with you. I feel that, as a person in this world that is, as a Black female, like, I've seen some things where people have tried to, like, nope, you just don't, like, you just can't. That's just not, I've been told you can't. And I'm like, Got it.
Neat.
That's your opinion. That's your opinion that I didn't ask.
I'll
you.
be back.
Yeah.
I'll be back.
Yeah. Don't bet against
Because
it.
I don't exactly. And you know what? You just gave me fuel, right? Because
Yep.
I don't want to get stuck by someone else's opinion. I don't want to get stuck by someone else's limitations on me. I have my own limitations. Like you said, like a lot of this is therapy, right? A self-assessment, reading, self-help, podcasts, all of these things can kind of give me energy. And it's like, okay, I can do one thing, right? To be better and do better. And I try to bring that to other people because, life sometimes can beat you down and it's hard. But you've got to like, my husband always teases me. He's like, you find the good in everything. I'm like, yep, that's why you married me.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Oh my gosh.
Oh
yeah.
my gosh.
Such a role model.
Yeah.
I mean, truly, I anyone that you are, you mentee is lucky to have you. I'll tell you that, Nicole. Like the world needs more of you. I wish we could clone you.
Yeah.
I know, even though that's not possible.
And I love doing it because I think that it's needed, right? I mean, I like, why wouldn't I try to encourage positivity? Like, I don't see, there's plenty of negativity in the world. I just want to make more good.
Yeah. And there's actually, I think, research to support the positive energy drives outcomes. Actually, it's the negative that takes up the space and, limits productivity. So, I mean, why, who wants high performers?
Yeah.
All we want to do is be productive and liked,
Yeah. Yeah.
So ain't got time
Well,
to relish in what you can't control, right?
Yeah, I think about some of the books and therapy that I've gone through as well, where you learn that positive messages you just kind of bounce off like rubber, and negative messages stick like Velcro. And so the amount of the role that it ends up playing to be one of the forces of positive energy in there. I think you're bringing a good word today, Nicole, and the energy kind of as we opened it. Like, I think about, it was all fun, but the jamming for water at WEFTech, there's an energy to that community, and then there's an energy to the way that you showed up.
It's needed.
Yeah.
So we always like to kind of end in a little bit of a call to action, Nicole. So I would say a young professional out there listening to this, either trying to find their way or wondering if water's for them. What recommendation or advice would you give them?
So I would love for people to be more willing to just share their stories, right? I think that if someone is interested, and just sit with someone that's, and it may not be, oh, I've done exactly that. Like I come from exactly that, but hearing how someone else has kind of found that path is very important, right? Because it's that whole, if you see it, you can be it, right? And you just see, okay, someone else went through struggles. They weren't sure what they were doing. They were doing, tried this, got detoured. All of these things are human. They're life, right? But you take one step at a time, you move forward. And I think that we become more empathetic as just individuals, not just in water, right? Just as people, when we do share stories, because then those commonalities come to the forefront and say like, okay, I can do that too, right? I can work with this person. We have something in common, and that creates that abundance. And I do get a lot of joy and a lot of energy of talking to young people, because when they get like, or not even young, but just people that kind of want to share their stories, because their excitement, their energy gives me energy. It's the same thing with, with that performing at Jamming for Water. Like if the crowd is with me, I'm like, let's go all together. Let's do this, right? Sing along, come on up. I don't care, dance, because all of that energy makes us better, right? And creating that, whether it's a cool design or a new, ad campaign or any of those things, when you're like, we did that. That's the joy that I get, right? And it's not like me, I am awesome. No, we have created something great, right? We have created that abundance, and it will only grow from there. So, I encourage people to don't feel isolated, because it can happen, right? And I think that even if you allow yourself, and it takes some vulnerability to share your story, hands down, I understand that, but share what you're comfortable with, right? Maybe you don't have to, give your whole life story and talk about therapy and all that, right? It's not, you don't have to bare your soul.
Right.
And some people like to. I'll bare my soul because it's comfortable for me. But find that place of comfort and share your energy with someone else, and hope that wave will go, with that energy for sure.
I love it.
So good.
Well, Nicole, we could chat for hours. I just find you one of the most interesting and pleasant people, and I'm gravitated toward you. So I'm grateful that you were able to join the podcast and share your energy and your story here.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, and your voice matters. And you allowing me to have my voice here and be amplified is very special. And please keep doing what you do, because we do need to share our stories.
I think I said it as we were doing the wrap up to Nicole. I don't think I said this on the podcast, but I wish Nicole was my neighbor.
Yeah.
I just, the positivity and the optimism that she brings is contagious. And I think, we need more of it.
Yeah.
Because I think, she has an incredible professional career that we really didn't even touch on. Right. But I think what makes her so talented and so good at everything she does is the energy that she brings and the optimism that she brings to everything she does. Yeah.
Yeah. She lives with a lot of passion and just leans into the experience and the engagement and invitation for others to join her in that experience. And it doesn't get much better than that, to be able to not just do the work of your job, but also be able to create the experiences that help people enjoy what they're doing and live in a space of joy. So, yeah. And I think just, I would just say, and I'm going to start taking Nicole's advice and her word abundance and start thinking about that more. Because we are very fortunate, and I think just looking at through that lens, when I find myself maybe going down a path that's not so optimistic, just think about her word for the year, abundance. I think it's a good call to action. Yeah, I love it, and you should all check out the resources that Nicole is part of, the communities that she's part of. Yes. She's done so much great work and is inspiring. And thank you for listening to this conversation. And I'm sure that it was an inspiring experience for you as well. So please like, share, follow, and let us know who else you want to hear from who makes water work. Thanks for listening to the Make Water Work podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss a conversation. We'd love to hear your thoughts and questions. Connect with us on LinkedIn or send us a message. Together, we can make water work for everyone.